Have you ever felt so burnt out that you knew something had to change, but weren't sure what? What if the answer wasn't another wellness course or retreat, but an ancient land calling to your soul? Welcome back to Exploring Ways to Wellness. I'm Sarah, and today's conversation with Blanka Gal will take you on an extraordinary journey through Egypt that became the most transformative wellness experience imaginable. Blanka was on the edge of complete burnout, juggling a stressful corporate job, 3 children, and caring for her mother. She knew 2025 had to be her year for change, but nothing could have prepared her for what happened when she and a friend spent 2 weeks exploring Egypt's ancient temples, from the root chakra energy of Abu Simbel all the way up to Alexandria. You'll hear about the extraordinary kindness of strangers that opened her heart from day one, the life-changing moment she faced her fears 1,000 feet up in a hot air balloon, and a powerful encounter with the goddess Sekhmet that made everything click. This isn't just a travel story. It's about how stepping completely outside your normal environment can unlock profound healing and transformation. If you're curious about spiritual travel or wondering how ancient wisdom can support modern wellness, Blanka's honest, emotional journey will show you what's possible when you're truly open to receive. So I'm absolutely thrilled to have Blanka Gal with us today on Exploring Ways to Wellness. We're going to be talking about all things wellness with her and her unique journey and experiences. So welcome, Blanka.
Thank you so much for having me. So I'm really pleased to be here and I'm so happy. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, we caught up recently, didn't we? Blanka did some amazing photos for me for my business. That was quite a few years ago, and we met up again recently and had a bit of a catch up, and I just knew I had to have her on the podcast as soon as we got chatting. Blanka, welcome. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your recent wellness journey?
I feel like my whole life is on a wellness journey in a way, but over the last especially couple of years, I have worked in a very stressful environment, and when you try to be there for everyone, at work doing your best, at home doing your best. I have 3 children, a husband. I have my mom who was mainly living with me. So there's a lot on me. And by the end of last year, I felt that I need some kind of change in terms of not going crazy. Mentally, physically, I just felt like it was enough. I decided that 2025 would be my year. And
Fantastic.
that's the start of the whole story.
Yes. And such a great thing, isn't it, to have that realization that actually maybe I've been putting myself second for a while and it's about time. This is time for me.
Yes, I was like really on the edge of completely burnout and mental exhaustion and everything. So I knew I needed some changes in my life in every aspect. Like I am the type who goes all in. It's like not just one thing at a time. I just start doing everything at the same time.
Yes, yeah, I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that.
Basically, the big thing was that we planned a trip to Egypt for a while. It was a place where I was always called. I feel that I needed to go, like from like when I was a child. I loved art, architecture, and then later on my spiritual journey and like my normal well-being through meditations, through teachings, listening to Gaia, other podcasts. We just got into more details about the energies over there. We have decided to take a 2-week trip to Egypt. And when I was really into this mental drainage and exhaustion, I said, okay, this is the time that we need to book this place and we have to go. And so basically I bought a ticket on the 1st of January. And we quickly fine-tuned the planning, and myself and my friend, just the 2 of us, 2 women, got to explore Egypt for 2 weeks in March during Ramadan season, which can be interesting, but I think it just put the trip in a next level and higher level. It was magical. Wow. That was my big well-being shift. I always like to travel, and in a way I feel like traveling is something where, you know, when you get out of your environment, it refreshes you, it switches off you mentally, and having experiences is just something where you refresh and switch off. And my intention with Egypt was finally not to think. Like, my job everywhere around, like I felt like I was always in a constant thinking, doing, achieving, almost like too much masculine energies and everything. You have to be there. I'm working in corporate as a manager, so I always had to be there on demand, was always using my brain. And this is what I just didn't want in Egypt. And my intention was just to go there, be open, and just feel like whatever comes, I take it. But I just want to feel and experience something else and switch off. So that was the reason and the big goal of it.
That sounds absolutely idyllic. It really does. So you
Well,
were already doing things like meditation, and you had some kind of wellness tools in your kit anyway, but there was this kind of burning desire to go to Egypt.
Yeah, like I do meditations. I have attended to Dr. Joe retreats. Whoever is familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza. So I was in a week-long retreat in 2023 in Vienna with him. So I like to explore different ways of well-being. And also for me, it's not just my soul, but also I need to look after my body and midlife and the changes and the bloating and everything. I have to walk more. I have to go to the gym more. Because for myself, you change the way how you eat, but all those tiny things and trying to push yourself to sleep, all what you can read on social media, what kind of things you can do, wasn't enough for me. And we just not really solving the things. And then Egypt came.
Amazing. So I can't wait to hear what happened.
So my expectation and the aim of the trip was we didn't want to travel like a normal tourist. So it's not the touristic way, but we wanted to experience real Egypt as much as we can. And also visiting the site in Egypt in a more spiritual way. The famous sites in Egypt from down the south up to the traveling by the Nile are just like the energy centers or chakras of the human body. So we wanted to visit them in this order to feel the energies. So we traveled down to Abu Simbel first, and then we went up nice, and we ended up in Alexandria. So it was a 2-week trip, and we traveled all the way through the Nile. I had no expectations, and I think that's a really good thing to have or not have.
Yeah.
Because then you are just surrendering to whatever comes. And I have never been to Egypt before, or I would say I've only traveled to Western countries. I was really open to receive everything that it comes. And by the time I landed late night and I had to travel through Cairo from one airport to the other one, and then I take an early flight. So experiencing the craziness of Cairo from a car in like for 2 hours that night was already something like, wow, the energies are just insane. And also experiencing the kindness of the people firsthand. What I'm talking about is I had a driver who would pick me up at one airport and would drop me off at the other. And it was close to midnight. And he asked me if I ate. And I said, I haven't really eaten and I have the flight early in the morning. So he took me to a place. We got out from the car and he bought me food. And I have pictures of me sitting around people. And because it's Ramadan, everyone is out and eating. And until 2 a.m., it's like the biggest buzz. It was so incredible. And he took me to one of his favorite places where they used to go with his wife. And I got food from him and he was just so happy. And that kind of generosity and giving instantly touched my heart, and I just still get goosebumps from it. I haven't been to whole Egypt for an hour and I already experienced this kind of kindness and giving.
So beautiful.
Which was so incredible. And I have to say it was life-changing. Probably he knew it because there was nothing open on the airport until I had to fly. So that actually got my dinner, breakfast, everything for a long time. And it was just so generous. And he didn't accept any money for it. he just didn't accept it. He said, "You're here." And he was just my driver,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So
lovely. What an amazing introduction to the country.
yes, yes. And everything just kept coming from the kindness from the people. We organized drivers who would pick us up, who would take us to places, and the kindness was incredible. Everyone thinks of Egypt that, oh, the place where you have to tip and give. And I think it's a really important thing to talk about, because at the beginning you feel, oh yeah, I have to tip. It's like they expect it and you don't want to open yourself up that much. But then you just realize that it's a beautiful way of giving, and they don't ask for a lot. Especially we live in the UK, so the pound is so strong. 50p, it's like a world-changing thing for them. Or if you give like a pound worth of money, I don't know, it's just like they treat you as a goddess for it. So the more we got into the journey, the more I wanted to give. And giving is opening you up from deep within. I really felt you give in your life, in your daily life, you're helping, you're serving. This was a different kind of giving. And the more I practiced it, the more I wanted it. And I felt the more I gave it, I was more open to receive all the good things and the energies and the kindness and the love that they are sharing.
Yeah.
Because most of the people, especially when we traveled in the countryside, you can see the circumstances, how they live, and they don't have a lot of money. I asked the drivers, they live from 200 euros a month.
Wow.
For a month. So imagine that
Yeah.
you give £1 to someone, it's life-changing. And it's not
Incredible.
always about the money. And I have to say, the other experience when we were in Luxor and we visited one of the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, there are guards at every tomb. This was a little bit further up. We had to climb up. It was really hot, like 36 degrees. And on the way back, we just sat down with the guards. Not so many people visited it, so it wasn't a popular one. And my friend just said, probably he's going to ask for some money, because we sat down here a little bit and just had a little bit of cool down in the shade. And then he started talking about his son at school who's 6. And he didn't ask for a penny. He asked for a pen to write at school for his son. And that was so touching. And obviously we look for anything we have. And I haven't cried that much in my life that I cried in Egypt from these kind of experiences and the soul-changing energies that I found there. But it just makes you think differently, value things differently. All the time I was like, my kids need to see it. I want to show this side of the world to so many people, to realize that what are the real values. And although he was asking for a pen, he was so grateful. He was so happy. He was so smiley, so generous. The happiness of the people over there, despite all their circumstances, and the openness to help and serve and give was just incredible.
I find that fascinating, that whole kind of concept of giving and receiving. And it's something that you were obviously doing at home a lot, giving of your time, your energy and everything, and your family and business were all receiving of it. It's such a completely different experience. And as you say, a different meaning almost of giving and receiving.
It's
Wow.
beautiful. And I asked one of the drivers that we have, okay, so how do you see us tourists here when we come here? Because it's special, let's say around Luxor or Cairo is really crowded. It's a lot of tourists all the time. So how do people see it? And he's a driver who has no family, or he's just a young guy in his 30s. He doesn't have family yet. And he said, it feeds someone's children. So all the money you spend here feeds someone's children. And that was so beautiful, and like a selfless way of thinking about what you bring there and what you take there and how they welcome you. And I had so many the heart-touching experiences like this.
That's so powerful.
Yeah, it is. We went on a felucca ride because I was walking on the street alone, which I really loved. And a young lad just stops and starts talking to you. Everyone stops and talking to you. Yes, they want business in a way, they want your money. But I approached them with a big smile and a fun way. Oh, this is free. And I said, nothing is free in Egypt. You cannot say that. And they loved it. So this guy stopped me. He was lovely. And he was offering a felucca ride. And the feluccas are these sailing boats. And what is really popular down in Aswan or Luxor, that you go out on the Nile with these sailing boats, usually at sunset, and you have a beautiful hour-long experience on the Nile while it's sunset. And at the end, I said yes. He offered to pick us up from the hotel, take us to the temple where we wanted a nice hour-long experience. It was just the two of us. And when they turned up, it was him, 28-year-old guy, and all the helper, and his 15-year-old, not brother, but someone from the family. And the generosity, the hospitality, the way that they tried everything to feel you welcomed. And also, it was quite obvious that they were working for the money. So we agreed on the price, but also what they wanted is like extra tips. But the way they did it, they made tea for us. They had food on the boat. They grabbed their drums. They made us dance. They were doing music for us. And this little 15-year-old boy, he grabbed us, but in a nice way, and we had to dance with him. And I was crying inside. And when I left, I gave them £5, which is massive over there. And I wanted to give them more because that's a family who's working, and this young guy's dream is to get his own boat, which is like his own once in a lifetime. How much they open their heart down to their selves to make you feel welcomed, but in a way to work for their existence and for living.
Yeah.
Gosh,
that sounds incredible. So it's really, the tipping and everything is more of an exchange and an expression of appreciation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I could see possibly tourists assuming people are approaching them because they're almost begging, but this isn't begging. The energy, as you say, is different in that. It's an exchange and
absolutely. Yes, it's an exchange of energy and appreciation, like how much good service they provided or not good service, but everyone is trying to get as great service provided as they can. But it is an appreciation, and it's just beautiful.
And lovely you could be open to that rather than being suspicious or being closed to it because they'll know how much are they going to want at the end of it. You were able to just enjoy the experience they laid on and then show your appreciation at the end of it.
Yeah. And it is changing yourself from the inside. I could feel it. The way transitioning from, oh yes, this is just like how you just phrased it at the first day. Oh, they just want some extra tip, or maybe they're begging. And especially when you go and try to buy something and they try to sell you. I really enjoyed it, like negotiating. And they said, oh, it's really fun to do the business with me. So you can approach it from like a fun side and be open and almost get on their game instead of being negative about it. Yeah, that was one big part. And of course, what I also have to talk about is the energies and the temple and that kind of shifts in well-being on the other hand.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about this bit. So you started south, and were you going root to crown chakra-wise? Okay.
Yes, we went from the root to crown chakra. So we started south in Abu Simbel, and then we went to the Temple of Isis in Aswan, which is a beautiful energy. It's on an island, so you can only go there by boat. We visited the Elephantine Island, which is an interesting place because you only see rubbles, but you just feel the energy that it could have been a portal as well. So between worlds, and everything is so ancient and so old, older than what they officially say. And then we went to Luxor, and we spent quite a lot of time in Luxor, which means like nearly a week. And my soul-changing experiences were there in many ways. One is I wanted to face my fear of height. And so we went on a balloon ride. And it was really, it's a sunrise balloon ride. So we had to wake up like leaving at 4 a.m. And I remember when I got into the basket, I was like, I just don't want to do it. I cannot do it. You had your fears and everything, and your head is talking. I cannot do this. I cannot do this. And the guy who organizes, just take a deep breath. It's all right. You're going to be fine. You're going to enjoy the ride. I went down. I just don't want to see anything from the basket. So I felt like we were lifting up. I was in the basket, in the bottom of the basket. And the higher we went, the higher I came up. And then, of course, oh my God, I just didn't want it to end. It was the most incredible experience. The silence, the stillness, the sun coming up. You see the magic temples. You see all the places in Luxor from above. And I honestly say I got rid of my fear of heights since then.
Wow.
It is, I actually love being high. Like, I'm not going to go bungee jumping, but
Kind of. No. Never say never.
That's maybe too much. But overall, like, I was afraid to step onto the ladder and I went on a balloon ride. So, but I wanted to work on myself in different ways because I just needed change.
Yeah.
And I said, this is what I'm doing. And I just looked at my journal and it just happened to be that on the full moon day, that's when we went to Karnak temple in the morning and Luxor temple in the evening. And in Karnak temple, it's the biggest site. It's massive, it's huge. And there is a small chapel which is dedicated to Sekhmet. And Sekhmet energy is a very incredibly strong energy. Sekhmet is one of the gods in Egypt. She is portrayed as a lion with a lion face. She is the goddess of war, but also for health and healing. And I will never forget the experience of getting into this tiny chapel, and there was a room on the right. I got in, and because we came from like a really sunlit light outside to this really dark inside, and there was just a tiny hole. So in Egypt and the temples, there are like small holes where the light can come in, just this tiny bit of, just a bit of light so you can see something. And I stepped into this room. It was just all by myself. And then I see this bigger than me whole statue of Sekhmet. And all I could see is her two eyes looking at me. And I felt like my body was just thrown into the wall behind me. I was like, oh my God, this is powerful. And I could just stand there and feel this energy of nearly telling me off for what have you done to yourself? How far did you push your limits to be this exhausted, to be this, like all the conditions that you suffer from? And I felt like she was telling me off, like, why don't you put yourself first? Why don't you focus on yourself more? And it felt for me, I don't know, like 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe it was just 20 seconds. I really don't know how long I was there alone with her. But that energy or something that I received there was so strong. And of course, I wasn't expecting it, that I just cannot describe it. And I was just standing there and it almost like everything clicked. I couldn't name it, say it out loud, but deep down I understood that I need these changes within me because things can go very bad, like serious illnesses and other things. Like, you have to put yourself first and you have to be, in a way, selfish. And it's all right to serve everyone else and be great at your job, but there's only one of you living this one life, and you only have this one life. Yeah, it made me understand maybe how we live in a different way.
Yeah. Yes, what a special experience. Wow.
Of course, I was crying when I went out. At the end, the driver said, oh, Blanka, who's crying at every temple. Because of the energy. I cannot say. Sometimes I was crying because I was releasing energy. Sometimes I was crying from happiness. You cannot name it. It just comes.
Yeah.
But every time I had these experiences, I felt like there was another layer coming off from me. Couldn't name it.
Wow.
But it was different. And I felt so much lighter. I felt much more relieved. I felt like there was something has shifted in me. And then the same evening, and it was full moon day, we went back to Luxor temple. In the evening, it's open when it's dark and it's beautiful light. And Luxor temple itself is built like the human body and the chakras again. And our intention was more of just stepping and standing in each chakra place, and a little bit just concentrate on your own chakras like that. So from the root chakra, just to close your eyes, give a little bit of energy to that. And when you feel like that you're ready, you can move on to the next one. And this is how we visited the temple. It wasn't the touristic, let's look around what's in there, but let's feel the temple. And I remember the heart chakra was in a courtyard, beautiful. And I stepped in there, not so many people were there. And it was Ramadan, and it's in the middle of Luxor. And the moment I stepped into the heart chakra courtyard and I closed my eyes, that's when they called for breaking the fast. And they started the prayer. And it was just so magical. And just standing there experiencing it, and of course crying again, but just to receive this energy of, I cannot say what that was, but it was magical. And I felt like my heart was wide open. And this is something really important for my own personal experience, because of the stress and everything and the overwhelm and the exhaust, I felt like I couldn't really love. I felt guilt of, I cannot really love my kids or my husband as much as I want to, because the daily life and language was all about you snapped at each other because you're tired and exhausted, you're impatient, but deep down you're craving the love and what's really within you. And I felt, oh gosh, I closed my heart and I cannot really love. And I could experience this energy inside of me, especially in my heart, wide open, hearing the prayers, being there in full moon night, in the dark. You cannot do anything else just to be open and receive. It's magical.
That sounds incredible. You also want to bottle an experience like that, don't you?
Yeah.
But internally you can draw on that now. You can go back to that place.
Yes. I didn't do a full journal of the whole trip, but you can say day 5 full moon. I did have to write that down.
Yeah.
Because it's something that you cannot really explain in different ways. And every temple had this kind of magic within. And the driver, which we traveled with, he said, okay, I take you to a place where tourists usually don't go. It's a small temple, but it's magical. And that was the following day for me. And it's a really tiny temple in Luxor. All you do is that you just stand there in these small dark rooms. There's a little bit of light. And then you just try to receive. I cannot explain what I experienced there just by standing there and closing my eyes. I don't know what happened there. I don't know, but you just feel these thousands and thousands of years of energy, purity, wisdom, talking to your soul. You just don't think at all. It's just down to energy level. I cannot say it differently. That I didn't expect, but we just stepped into this temple. We went into these tiny rooms, and each of them gave me a different experience. I have no clue how long we were there, maybe for 2 hours. And it's not bigger than my living room. But yes, of course, I was crying or releasing in the other room. I was more open, and you could just feel the changes within. And yeah, I felt a different person.
That's an incredible experience. I bet you didn't want to leave at the end.
No, and I didn't want to leave Luxor, and I felt, oh my gosh, my heart is here. It felt home. Yeah. It felt being at home. Interestingly, we got on the plane that night. We went to Cairo, and everyone was so excited. We were going to visit the pyramids, and we go to the King's Chamber, but the energies were not the same.
Interesting.
The energies were not the same.
And do you think that is maybe because pyramids were built for a different reason to the temple? Or maybe the fact so many people were there changed the experience? What do you think?
They were weird for different reasons, that's for sure. We went into the King's Chamber, the pyramid. We didn't have a private visit, but we went really at the early beginning, which meant that we were in the first, let's say, 50 tourists. And the guide was really kind. So we got to spend more than an hour within the King's Chamber. We couldn't get into the sarcophagus there because some people go and they try to feel the energy. But I could stop there, touch it, do some meditation, and then I sat with my back to the wall of it and experience the energies and do a meditation there, not disturbing anyone else. It was something different, but that is for the throat chakra. So I think for what I needed, opening my heart and coming from the survival, because they say that the first 3 energy centers are working and putting you into survival mode. And sometimes you feel like your everyday life is more of a survival when you're just weak to create. And Luxor opened my heart. So then the pyramids were for your throat and expressing what's within you. But it is definitely a different energy. It is a different energy. Probably I needed those changes and shifts, but by the time I think I was in Cairo, I was a completely different person. I felt myself like a goddess.
Yeah.
You cannot say. It was just almost like I went through the changes internally, and then in Cairo, I got to just experience it from joy. The craziness of the streets, going out at night and then trying to cross the road. And the more you went, you needed to enjoy it.
Amazing. Do you think it also was a different experience because you went with your friend as opposed to your family?
Yeah. I needed this time away for myself.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to be honest with you. Sometimes I felt like wish I would be completely alone to take my time more, and just maybe I wanted to spend more time in certain temples than she did, but then we need to go on the move. And this is 2 weeks. You visit a lot of places you need to go. But by the end of it, I felt like I left the person behind. Even the picture I used to do photos, and I said, look at me on the first day and on the last day. It's like a different person. And I felt like I found myself again, true self, which means that who I used to be maybe 20 years ago when I felt the fullest of me again, and shifted the perspective of what's really important, where I have to focus on it, and I have to keep up this momentum because I never want to go back to the stressed, burnout person who I was. And even my family, my husband said, you have changed so much, you're so different.
Wow.
And just by me going on this trip has solved, let's say, many issues at home. Of we didn't have those arguments. You changed, and everything else changed around you. And it is so true. But I felt like that I understood it more in a deeper level now. I said it was stronger than going to a Dr. Joe retreat, which is life-changing for many people, and it was for me as well. But then I lost back for the daily life. I went back to these energies and the exhaustion. But this is something that takes time, and it's like integration process is still on, taking on. But I said, I'm not going back to who I was, and I'm going to live my life in a different way from now on.
Wow. That's really a powerful message as well. The fact that you can go on certain retreats and they can give you tools or give you relaxation in the moment. But what do you have when you get back home? And it sounds like it's changed you on such a deep level. And as you say, then there's that ripple effect to those around you, to the family and the people around you, that it changes everyone. And I guess you have all those experiences to return to. Do you now meditate on them if you feel stressed, or how do you now integrate those experiences into your life?
When I came home, I felt like an alien. I stepped into my own house and I looked around, and I'm like, oh wow, what kind of mental state I was. Like, it's not messy, but just the whole energy was so different. And especially in the first week, I'm not lying. I couldn't really be in the same room with my family because they were carrying the old energies and I had something different.
Right.
So this was like a good reason for, okay, now I'm going out for my daily walks. So the first thing was every morning I woke up and I went out for a daily walk, even doing a walking meditation or just go and walk and do always with my music. Sometimes it was all about uplifting things, raising my energy, bringing me back to that state of incredible joy and like your highest vibration. I push myself. I go to the gym. I want to change and keep up the momentum to feel good. And how I could phrase it, that since I came back from Egypt, my main goal of every day was to feel good and feel the joy.
Yeah.
And even how I acted on stressful situations, because it's not that you're living in a bubble now, because there are things life gives you, everyday situations, but I try to be more in balance, take a few deep breaths and try to go outside of the situation, reflect on it and see it from a different perspective. Is it really my problem? Can I really change it? Or if I'm stressing about it, can I handle it or not? It's an interesting thing because after I came back from Egypt, we went for a weekend in Prague with my husband. And I left my mom here with my little one. My youngest is just going to turn 10. And you're in like the happiest moment in Prague with your husband walking in the afternoon. And then someone messages you that, oh, I've seen your little boy on the street with another one. I was like, what's happening? Like walking, I don't know, 3 miles away from the house. And then I messaged my mom, okay, where is my little one? Oh, they're outside in the park. But they were not. They decided to go to his friend's home, which was like half an hour away. But they didn't say it. And I never had this. And I was in Prague. And of course, it's your son and you start freaking out. All your thoughts are coming. And then I just like, okay, can I change anything from here? I'm actually in the most beautiful place in Prague, standing here. It's an afternoon, far away from my kid, far away from my family. If I worry and drag myself down energetically, will it change anything? No, it will not. And the moment I try to shift and concentrate on this as much as I can, and then it turned out that the kids were all right. They went to the other house. The mom messaged it's all right. Everything was solved and everything was all right at the end. But I could have spent those hours completely worrying, ruining my holiday. But instead of that, and this was from the state of with a different perspective of looking at things, what is the moment of now? What does that change? Or what can I do? Obviously, you try to message and do the actual things you can. But worrying and going stressful, we are just ruining myself, nothing else.
So you really found yourself able to kind of stay in control of your own emotions.
Yeah.
And as a result, react.
Yeah.
In a way that
it was sorted and there were no problems. But you could have changed it to you go all in panic mode and this and that. And but it's different.
Yeah.
And I think because you give your energy in a positive way and calm, it does probably change the actual issue as well. Turns out to be better.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. Definitely. So you clearly recommend going to Egypt and having
Yes.
You didn't book it. It didn't sound like you booked a package or anything like that. You organized
No,
it
was completely self-organized and I didn't want to do a package. I think, and I've seen what it means to book a package and an agency. You're crammed into buses. They take you to places. They don't take you to where you want. You don't have the time that you want to take on, even if you would like. It's strict. Obviously, there are regulations. And I want to say that it's safe. It is completely safe. It is strange at the beginning because you see the guards people, with the guns and everywhere. Police stops the drivers, but it's for your own safety. And I never felt safer anywhere. And what I can tell from the fact that the more we went on our journey, the more I was like, okay, I just go out for the street all by yourself. And I didn't want to go into the hotel anymore. I want to be with the people. I want to go back. I want to explore it again. It's exciting. And I just felt loved everywhere.
Yeah. Are you the sort of person that when you visit different places, you really embrace the culture anyway? Or was it particularly in Egypt, you just felt the sort of the warmth of the people opened you up to that?
I like to see the real life everywhere as much as I can. If I don't have a lot of time, then at least just go to some kind of local restaurant instead of something which is really on the hype for tourists. So I am definitely someone who wants to see and explore the real life, but I cannot think. It's just different in energies. I went to Prague after, I went to Spain after, I went to Malaga, I went to Tenerife since then. And I try to think back, okay, I'm away again. Was this the hype of just traveling somewhere? And it wasn't. It's just the energies are not the same. I was in Tenerife and I was like, okay, I could spend a week here. Would it be the same feel or energy? Just to experience all by yourself. And it's now something is there which is so ancient and so wise with all those historical and architectural things that I cannot explain.
Yeah. And it's so special, the fact you got to experience so much of it. You were traveling over land, weren't you? So it wasn't.
Yeah. We didn't go on the, like, you can be a little bit blindfolded in Egypt in terms of going to 5-star fancy hotels all the time. And then you take a nice cruise ship on the Niles where you're served. Everything is like a 5-star hotel boat and all you just see is the beauty of it. But that's not the real life.
Yeah.
It's not the real Egypt. And I think it gives a completely different experience. So we didn't go on a boat trip. We had the driver, so we drove all the way. So we had like day-long driving from Aswan to Luxor, and we stopped by the temples on the way. We had guides who came with us, and we just wanted to experience the realness of it as much as we can. And I think that was the best decision.
It sounds like it. It sounds like it was an incredible experience to have and a way to do it. Yeah. So I've no doubt that you'll be back at some point in Egypt in the future.
Definitely.
More experiences. Is there anything you'd like to leave with listeners in terms of how they could possibly do it themselves or any recommendations?
One thing is, because I have experienced this, I want to give the chance to others to experience this. And on the way home from the plane, I did a meditation. Then I had a download that I think there would be other people who would need this kind of experience, and I want to share it with them. So I am planning to organize like small groups, going there together and show them the hidden secrets of Egypt to experience it differently. But if they want to go by themselves, I just advise them not to be afraid of organizing. Everyone, they all do business on WhatsApp. So there's the only way you can do business in Egypt is through WhatsApp. There's no websites, nothing is working. It's just WhatsApp messages. But yeah, it's safe and you can have amazing experiences, but you have to be open. You have to be open to see the realness of it, or to be open that it's not a Western country. They do business and they deal with everything differently.
Yeah.
And you have to be wise of a few things, like do not eat watermelon, water you cannot drink, even if you brush your teeth. It's better to have like packed water. So there are practical things to be aware of. But I think even if you just go on TripAdvisor, you find lots of information on how to do it in a good way.
Are you holding a wait list or anything?
Because this is when you experience, but I just feel like this is a calling that it would be an amazing trip together. So at the moment, it's only my Instagram, which is my name, Blanka.Gal. And I am holding like a wait list now, and obviously it takes time to organize and finalize things. But yes, if everyone is interested, check out my Instagram and feel free to message me.
That sounds so special. I'll be joining your wait list without any shadow of a doubt. And I'll be putting your links in the show notes. So if anybody else who's listening is interested, I highly recommend you doing that. So thank
Yeah.
you so much, Blanka. I've really enjoyed our chat today, and it's just incredible to hear not only about your trip, but the experiences that you had while you were there and the way you've been able to bring it home and it have that kind of ripple effect, and to not only have things that you can draw on yourself, but also that impact on those around you as well. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And I think I didn't expect this. I didn't plan this. I just knew that I needed some time away in a place which is magical and different. And yeah, I feel the best. I cannot tell you, I feel more myself than ever in my whole life. And I feel amazing. Even where problems are, I feel so good. And it's just the best feeling, honestly, the best feeling of all.
Wonderful. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure we can all learn a lot from that. So thank you, Blanka.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Sarah.
I have to say, listening to Blanka's story fills me with such hope and possibility. The transformation from feeling like she was drowning in stress and responsibility to becoming this radiant, centered version of herself. It's exactly why I love sharing these wellness journeys with you. What struck me most was how this wasn't a typical wellness retreat with structured practices and schedules. This was raw, authentic experience, from crying at every temple to facing her fear of heights. From learning the art of generous giving to receiving those profound messages from ancient energies. Blanka's encounter with Sekhmet gave me goosebumps. That moment of being energetically told off for not putting herself first resonates so deeply. How many of us need the same message? And the fact that her transformation created such positive ripples through her family shows the power of truly changing from within. I'm genuinely excited that Blanka is planning to share this experience with others through small group journeys. And I've put a link to find out more and join her waitlist in the show notes. But beyond Egypt specifically, Blanka's story reminds us that sometimes we need to completely step outside of our normal world to remember who we really are underneath all the stress and responsibilities. That profound healing is always available to us, often in the most unexpected ways. Thank you for joining me today, and remember, there's many paths to wellness, and sometimes they just require us to trust the call of something ancient and sacred that we can't quite explain.